Just let you know you're being
Started.
recorded.
I like how they call this a meeting. By attending this meeting, you are consented to being recorded. This is not any meeting I've ever been to, you know.
Gentlemen, you may be wondering why I gathered you all here today.
You're fired.
I've been in some of those meetings before. I was not one of the fired parties, but I was there for it. Holy shit.
Oof.
Yeah, we're going to be outsourcing the entire pension department.
You ever see that thing? I don't know if it was on Twitter or Tumblr, but it was a thing where like some guy posted that he's like, I made a big mistake in work and now they've called me into a meeting.
Yes.
You know this
the
one?
Clown?
Yeah,
the clown.
Yeah. They're like, they're going to call me into this meeting and I know that I'm going to get fired, but they said I can bring somebody in as a support. Could I hire a clown to be my support man? And then the next is like a fucking article written about the guy like, man brings support clown in when he gets fired.
Made balloon animals for the
people. Yeah. Good stuff.
Well, if we have a support clown here, we might need one because we're going to be discussing. Hi, I'm Corey, and this is John and Dylan, and collectively we're known as the Smark Avengers, and we might need a. Yeah, we'll keep it. The last volume, all of our starts involved us coming up with fake podcast names, and this one we're just going to be jumping into some random topic.
Oh yeah, we did do that. Anyway, tell us some facts about Spider-Man films, Corey.
Spider-Man films. So, yes, we're going to talk about the Sony Spider-Man movies. We're going to start all the way with Tobey Maguire, and we are going to wrap up talking about the future of the Sony Spider-Man movies. Well, the Spider-Man, but not Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yes.
So it's going to be kind of the same format we did last time. We're going to look at box office. We're going to look at percentages. We're going to talk about our own experiences watching them. Mm-hmm. So we'll just go ahead and get underway. Spider-Man was something that there was always talks of making a Spider-Man movie. I remember in the 90s, like reading about it in magazines and stuff, like rumors of a Spider-Man movie, and like they're going to do it, and then the rights.
Jason Patrick as Spider-Man and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So there was all these ideas that were floating around there, but it finally came about being through the director of Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. What he's most famous for, in my opinion, Sam Raimi. And we had our first live action American Spider-Man, because we have the live action Japan Spider-Man, which I don't think that episode didn't come out. We might have to
didn't put that up.
We didn't put it up.
Oh man, we have to put that up.
We will. I think we'll have to re-record it, but yeah.
No, what's wrong with it?
It's on my old computer that's dead.
We had to do it twice. We can't do that.
Yeah. Well, and the audio kept getting fucked up because like it was on my old computer, and running Skype and YouTube at the same time was just a bad idea.
So we're gonna have to pretend we're seeing Spider-Man for the first time, a third time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cut this out of this episode either, so people will listen to this.
I have such a bad memory that like if we watched it again now, I'd be like, well, I don't remember any of this.
So anyway, we had our first live action Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, and we also, by proxy of that, we got our first live action Mary Jane Watson, and our first villain, the Green Goblin, played by the wonderful Willem Dafoe.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the year 2002. I was a sophomore in high school in 2002, maybe even a freshman technically. So I was in that demographic. I believe I saw that in the theater, but it's been a bit. And yeah, I was not. I will tell you that when it comes to Spider-Man, and this is going to come across in this recording, I was only really interested in Spider-Man in the 90s when Todd McFarlane was doing the art.
Okay.
Spider-Man, for the most part, has been a miss for me a lot of the time. And when it has hit, it's always been weird characters. Like, I really liked Ben Reilly.
Oh, okay.
You didn't like Ben Reilly, or you liked it?
Oh, dude, we've talked about this before because I love the Clone Saga.
Yeah, well, that's right. You did love the Clone Saga. So yeah, that's my experience with Spider-Man. So when it came to watching this, it was like my background is the 90s Spider-Man with Todd McFarlane doing art, and also the animated series that was on Fox, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the first incarnation of Spider-Man on the big screen?
I liked it because I mean, we're all pretty much the same age, I think. So we're around about the same age. So I was, in 2002, I was a big Spider-Man fan. We'd started reading the comics by then, and I also was a big fan. I think we're all a big fan of the cartoon show in the '90s. So I was psyched to see it, and when you're a kid and you watch something like that, you're like, "Wow, it's great." It's not perfect. We can all agree on that, but it's fun enough. It's not obviously shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think a lot of the fun stuff about it and we'll end up talking about this character. Actually, I'll save it for when we're talking about that character. But you weren't allowed to have like bullets and stuff in the
cartoon show,
like the Spider-Man like animated show.
Yeah.
They had to make some changes. That's right. So like they got around a lot of like handcuffs that they were put on them. Like fucking Batman the animated series had bullets, and there's tons of fists getting thrown. So I don't know what it was about Spider-Man.
Batman was always really cool and gritty, and Spider-Man was a little bit more lighthearted for kids.
Yeah.
So that's the demographic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I thought the film was fun enough. I guess we'll talk about all three of the films, right?
Yeah, we're gonna go through them.
Okay, John. Also, I think it's fair if we talked about the Spider-Man games.
Oh, I never really played too many of the games.
Okay. Because whenever I got my GameCube in 2002, it came out, it bundled. I didn't want this game. I wanted Super Smash Brothers, which I bought along with the GameCube, but it came bundled with Spider-Man the movie, the game, which okay, in terms of the video game and in terms of the film, I think we can both agree not as good as the second one. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Well, I stand alone in this, I think, because I love the first movie more than I do the second movie. And the second movie is great, but like the first movie, I think, is just a perfect slice of comic book movie, fun. Like you got the origin story, you've got like the little jokey moments. You got Willem Dafoe just absolutely healing it up and having a blast as Green Goblin. And then like the little nods to the comics as well, like him threatening Mary Jane, like holding her over the edge of the bridge and stuff, like like she's Gwen Stacy or something. And yeah, like all that kind of stuff really worked for me. So I loved that first movie, and I was so glad to see Willem Dafoe get to be Green Goblin again. Not to get ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, we'll get there. I mean,
well, no, actually, we will not get there because that was an MCU movie.
Oh, well, then fuck it then.
Yeah.
I did like the first Spider-Man film, but I enjoyed the second one more. I did like William Dafoe was a great great cast. I think that's been kind of overshadowed by stuff. Like people don't realize how good, like a lot of those Spider-Man villains were perfectly cast. We'll get to the second one, but William Dafoe as Green Goblin, like that's really good casting. It's perfect. It worked so well. He was so creepy. Did you guys ever see that? Apparently, in the first film, the Green Goblin's mask, the face doesn't move. It's a static mask. But apparently, they had designed a mask that would move, like the mouth would move when he talked, and they got rid of it.
It looked like skin, right?
It was way creepier. I'm like, that would have been fucking cool, dude. I think maybe they again because Spider-Man's a little bit more family friendly. Maybe they didn't want to go too deep into it being too creepy.
I think as well, like it would have been weird, like him being a weapons manufacturer just suddenly showing up with like a a latex goblin mask which properly moved when he spoke and stuff.
That's true. That's true. But again, like you said, it's comics, right? It all has a sense of fun about it. You don't have to think about it too much.
Hmm.
You know. But yeah, I did like the first one. Corey, what did you think of it?
Well, the first one, here we go again. First one was the only one I watched. So,
What?
Yeah, only one I watched.
Come on.
Yeah, no, I told you I wasn't a big Spider-Man person. So, I saw the first one. I thoroughly enjoyed Willem Dafoe. I like him in damn near everything I've ever seen him in. But yeah, no, Tobey was fine. A lot of people like to make fun of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movies now, I've noticed, mainly because like the facial expressions he was making and like there's like a lot of weird like memes and TikTok videos of like, pizza time. But I think that might have been the second or third movie that happened in.
Pizza Time, I think, was the second one.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, fuck, yeah. We do need to talk about one of those rare occasions where our fucking joke name comes into play with Macho Man Randy Savage in the first movie.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Bone saws ready.
Yeah.
With a very like of its time gay joke that Spider-Man threw at him.
Jeez.
Boy, some things just don't age. 2002 it's a reminder that was a little bit ago. Probably couldn't get away with that one.
A different time.
Different time. So yeah, no, it was fine. I remember the soundtrack for it, weirdly enough, because it featured such timely artists as Dashboard Confessional and
Saliva?
Sum 41.
Wasn't Saliva in that one?
I bet I wouldn't be surprised. When weren't they?
Was that the one where
Was
Saliva and Chad Kroger got together to make that song? Wasn't that the first one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
It wasn't Nickelback. Yeah. Was it Hero, the song?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's another song gets memed a lot.
Oh boy, they don't make them like that anymore.
No, they do not.
That was the first one, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure
probably.
it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fucking fact check this.
You fact check.
We're talking about all of them.
Chad Kroger.
We're gonna talk about all of them. It's gonna fit in there somewhere.
Okay, well, at least we mentioned. At least we brought it up.
Yeah, we brought it up. So we're gonna move away from that one. Dylan, you already kind of touched on it a little bit. We got Spider-Man 2. The family's back together. I know that Peter Parker's still kind of getting adjusted to life as Spider-Man. Harry Osborn is showing a darker side after the apparent death and murder of his father. And we got Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus.
Mm-hmm.
I did not see this movie, but go for it, guys.
I fucking love this film. Like, Dr. Octopus is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains anyway, so I was really psyched to see that. And of course, when this film came out, like, I was still a kid, kind of, so like I didn't see a whole lot of Alfred Molina films prior to this. But I saw this, I'm like, this guy can fucking go. This ruled. That's my favorite of the films. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I fucking love that film. And as a sidebar, Spider-Man 2, the video game, way better than the first one. So much better. It's like really, really good. Go out of your way to check it out if you haven't. It's like a big open world. You get to explore the whole city. It's an open world kind of thing, and sometimes you deliver pizza. Sometimes you fight the Rhino, who's voiced by John DiMaggio. You know, there's loads of like it's really fun. You know, yeah, I really like the second one a lot. Really
Yeah, same. I mean, it features probably one of the best scenes in any Spider-Man movie where Dr. Octopus is on like the operating table just after they've kind of pulled him from the wreckage of the failed experiment, and then his tentacles sort of come to life and start murdering people in the most Sam Raimi way possible. It's amazing.
It's really good, man. I mean, Corey, if you're gonna watch the Spider-Man film, you should watch the second one.
We should watch the second one. Okay.
We should all watch the second one.
Yeah, man.
All right now.
Maybe not right now.
So this movie was out in 2004, and I don't know. Actually, in retrospect, do you guys want to talk about like box office, Rotten Tomato percentages, whether you agree or disagree, or do you want to save that towards like the end when we do kind of a summary?
I think, yeah, we should kind of, when you're summing it up, that's a good way to kind of put it out there, you know?
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So we wrap up with Spider-Man 2, and we hit the final movie of the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire trilogy, Spider-Man 3 in 2007. This movie featured technically three villains. We had James Franco ascending to the new Green Goblin role, in which he was on a snowboard with a paintball mask. We have Thomas Hayden Church as the Sandman, who kind of was the main villain. And then we have a secondary, maybe tertiary villain of the Eddie Brock Venom character being played by That 70s Show's Topher Grace with a bleach blonde look, very of its time.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of comes in towards the ending of that movie.
Uh-huh.
So this was considered like bad, like
Yes.
to the point that it ended Sam Raimi's Spider-Man run, because I think there was a fourth movie that there was always rumors of that was never going to get made.
Yeah.
That was always the rumor, was that Bruce Campbell, who had small cameos in each one, was going to be Mysterio.
Yeah, and I think John Malkovich was supposed to be the Vulture as well in a potential fourth movie.
That would have been great.
Can you imagine John Malkovich in a fucking superhero movie? I just can't see it.
That would have been fucking awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, man, we missed out. And it's all Topher Grace's fault.
That's exactly what I was about to say. The problem with that
is it Topher Grace's fault?
Yes.
Yeah,
because
he was
who
terrible.
the fuck, who would ever cast Topher Grace as Venom? Like,
Can I tell you without seeing this movie, can I tell you why I think they did that?
Because they were drunk?
Because I think they wanted to do a contrast, because a lot of people thought that he and Tobey Maguire were super similar, and some people, because of his sort of comedic chops on That 70s Show, thought he could have been Spider-Man. So you have like Venom, who is kind of the dark flip side of the coin in this movie about the black symbiote suit, as an evil Spider-Man.
Right,
That's
but
just not seeing the movie, just seeing it.
I mean, I understand that, and I think that Topher Grace probably could have been a really good Spider-Man, but like that's exactly the point of Peter Parker and Eddie Brock, is that they aren't counterparts at all.
Yeah,
they're totally different people. That's why that works. That's why that whole arc works, because they're totally different people. So to have a guy like Topher Grace, who could conceivably be a Spider-Man in another universe, be Venom, just does not work. Visually, like conceptually, it doesn't work. Let me tell you this about Spider-Man 3. I thought a lot of it was crap, but Thomas Hayden Church as the Sandman are like far and away the best parts of that film.
Yeah,
every single time he's on screen, they play it perfectly.
Yeah,
I don't know how, because the rest of it sucks. How did they get that bit right consistently, and then the rest of the film just all the way through sucks, right?
Well, it's just too busy a movie as well. They're trying to do too much. I think if they had, I hate like Hollywood's tendency to do this nowadays, but if they had split it into two movies, given like different aspects, more time to breathe, like you could have ended the first part with Eddie Brock like in the church with the symbiote dripping down on him, and then he turns into Venom, and then that sets up the next part where he can actually have a bigger role and maybe come across more menacing, but instead it's also squashed together and rushed, and nothing gets a chance to breathe, because they have to explain how the Sandman played a role in Uncle Ben's murder and stuff like that. It's like, who cares?
Right.
We're getting off the beaten track here.
Well, John, do you think that like part of the problem with that film was that conceptually they had too many heavy hitters as villains? Like, for example, because the Spider-Man 3, the whole point of it was that they had to play the Sandman as like not really a villain, so therefore you needed a villain to contrast that. But would it have worked better if the villain they were contrasting wasn't a big name like Venom? would it have been better if it was somebody a little bit lower down the totem pole?
Scorpion
Or Electro or something like that you could play the Sandman against, who's still like a threat, but not like a major threat like a Venom or something like that, right?
Yeah. I think the problem famously is that Sam Raimi sort of had Venom forced on him. The studio was like, we want Venom in this next movie. And Sam Raimi was like, yeah, I don't really think he fits in here. But obviously the studio won out and he kind of had to try and squeeze him in there. And it clearly didn't work.
And to their credit, if you think about the first, if you think about big Spider-Man villains, the top three are probably going to be, the Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and then Venom. So like you can kind of see, if you go like, and this is no offense to the Sandman, but if you go Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, the Sandman, people are like, who? Like it doesn't, his name as a Spider-Man villain doesn't have the same kind of weight to it. So I get that point of it, but like we said, you either make a film devoted to Venom or you do the Sandman thing with somebody else, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So this movie featured like the Sandman as kind of like a kind of morally gray character in a sense, like he was a guy just trying to make good, essentially.
Yeah, I think he was doing stuff for his daughter or something.
It's for my kid. They were like trying to combine two other villains that could have been standalone arcs. Because again, that being like the Todd McFarlane era Spider-Man fan in the 90s, Harry Osborn becoming the Green Goblin was like a big deal that I remember from the books. Especially because like he had his kid, little Normie, and like those panels that McFarlane did were so fucking cool, and like it was like a Philip Glass song. And like the idea that they just kind of condensed that and put it as like a not even like a proper villain, because like Spider-Man whooped the shit out of him, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right. It's like an afterthought.
Yeah, exactly. Like that should be more of a prominent movie, which I think we'll touch on again. Actually, when I think about it. And then you had the Venom stuff that also kind of got squished in there too.
Right.
So,
I think that's part of it. Like they're trying to put in too many storylines that realistically you could make a film out of themselves.
Yeah. So you know how time is a flat circle?
Mm-hmm.
Batman and Robin. You had your kind of morally ambiguous character who was doing bad things for the right reasons in Mr. Freeze. And you had your character that was just kind of out and out evil in Poison Ivy. And then you had a third villain that was just there as an afterthought, which was Bane, who should be a much bigger deal.
Right. Same kind of thing there.
If you guys are cool with it, we can move on past Sam Raimi's Tobey Maguire movies, and we can move on to the next run of Spider-Man movies that took place 10 years after the first Sam Raimi Tobey Maguire movie came out. So this is the Mark Webb, Andrew Garfield, The Amazing Spider-Man movies. I actually saw the first one of this. And so we have Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker Spider-Man, taking place in high school. And we also had Emma Stone playing Gwen Stacy, a departure from the Mary Jane character that was used in the other movies. And we also had, I'm going to absolutely butcher his name. Is it Reese Ifans?
That'll do.
Cool. That works for me. Dr. Kurt Connors / the Lizard as our main villain. So yeah, I liked Andrew Garfield. We moved away from the organic web that Tobey Maguire had to actually having the web shooters made by Peter Parker.
Which I like that. I like that. I didn't like the organic, because they tried to put that into the comics after that. And like, this is not good.
No, just weird.
It was horrible. Really bad.
Kurt Connors, the Lizard. I think if you're going to do like a first movie, the villain doesn't need to be something big that's going to take a lot of attention, because you're trying to establish this new normal. We also had Sally Field as Aunt May, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
nice.
she was pretty
and
good.
Martin Sheen as Ben, as Uncle Ben. That's also good. Any thoughts on The Amazing Spider-Man? Because it doesn't sound like there's that many.
I mean, kind of. The way I think of it for those two sets of Spider-Man films is that I like the films of Tobey Maguire better, but I like Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man better. So
I would agree
if you had Andrew Garfield in the Tobey Maguire films, I think that would be pretty perfect. Not to take anything away from Tobey Maguire, but I feel like Andrew Garfield like fit that role really well.
Yeah,
So,
I think he's a better Spider-Man, and Tobey Maguire's a better Peter Parker in a way.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's actually a pretty good way to put it. I mean, I like this film, and I don't want to jump ahead too much, but I like this film better than its sequel because of a number of factors, really. But I thought, as a Spider-Man fan, I thought it was cool to see somebody like the Lizard turn up because, like you said, you wouldn't normally think of the Lizard as being like one of the big guns, but if you're just developing a new series, you can kind of get away with whatever because the focus is on Spider-Man. It's not really on the villain, so you can kind of play around with it and try to introduce a villain they haven't already seen on screen before, which I think was a good idea. So I liked him as the Lizard, but yeah, I thought it was okay. Like film-wise, I thought it was okay.
I can't say I was a big fan, to be honest.
Okay.
I think because I loved at least the first two Sam Raimi movies like so much. This one always had a tough hill to climb, and I do appreciate the fact that they tried to make it as different as possible from the Sam Raimi movies, like by introducing Richard and Mary Parker, like his parents, like are a big factor in the story. Then going the different route with the Lizard as the villain, and having Gwen Stacy as the love interest instead of Mary Jane. Like they went out of their way to do something different, but different doesn't always equals better. And in that regard, I thought this is nowhere near the level that Sam Raimi sort of peaked at.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like they were just better films.
Mm-hmm.
The Sam Raimi ones were just better put together.
I'm not terribly familiar with Mark Webb as a director, but I mean, I think his other big credit aside from this that I could see is 500 Days of Summer, which is like a romantic comedy. And like, I don't know if that warrants a project like Spider-Man.
I think he just got the gig because of his name, right?
Yeah. Because I mean, that 500 Days of Summer was a big deal. And Mark Webb.
I meant his actual name.
I know, I got it. I didn't want to give you. I didn't want to acknowledge it. But I got it.
Oh, was that bad? Was it? Was that bad?
So we'll transition 2 years later after The Amazing Spider-Man. We get The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Andrew Garfield's back as Peter Parker. Emma Stone's back as Gwen Stacy. And we get two villains, one very apparent in the advertising, the other they kind of sneak in there. We have Jamie Foxx as Electro, the amazing Jamie Foxx. And we also have Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn.
Amazing Dane DeHaan.
as Harry Osborn / the Green Goblin, which we get is this our first repeat villain? Oh, well, and I guess, I can't not acknowledge Paul Giamatti as the Rhino at the end.
Yes.
I can't acknowledge that. I've seen that clip.
That was the best part, and that says a lot about that film. If that was the best part.
No, Jamie Foxx is amazing in everything. I didn't see him. I didn't see this movie, but I remember the character design being interesting.
Corey.
Yeah.
I don't want to totally disprove your last sentence, but I don't think Jamie Foxx is amazing in everything.
What do you? Oh, just in this movie, you didn't like him?
He sucked.
Oh, really? That's disappointing.
It just was not good. And you know what's funny is, right? Because we've already said we're not really going to talk about the other Spider-Man film because it's not part of the Fox series. But whenever they brought him back, he was way better.
The look was better for sure from what I've seen. That was like the big thing that movie saw that I took away from seeing bits of that movie was like, okay, they fixed a lot of those villain designs.
Yeah, but like the whole, even just the way he was acting, it was just way better. But in this film, it just all of it was bad, and part of it was he just didn't have a great script to go with it.
Yeah.
But part of it was just he just was the wrong person for that character. A lot of this film, was this the one, John? Maybe you can remember because I've seen it once. I'm vowed never to see it again, right? but there's one of the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films, and I have a feeling it's this one, where something happens and then Spider-Man kind of jumps onto like a flagpole, and then behind him there's like a big, they superimpose the American flag. Do you remember this? Is this the first one or the second one? I feel like it's the second one.
I thought that was from the Sam Raimi movies, but
was it? I thought that was Andrew Garfield.
I think it was the Sam. I mean, the Sam Raimi movies are very close to September 11th passing, so I could absolutely see them throwing in a big American flag for fun.
Right, but that's why that makes sense. But that's why I'm like, if it happened 15 years later, you're like, it's not as poignant. You know, I'm sure, but I'm not going to go back and watch them. So
yeah. I do remember the Green Goblin in this looking terrible.
Yep.
Because they decided, again, we're not going to give him a mask. We're just going to make him look kind of fucked up.
But even then, they didn't go the full hog with it. They just sort of colored him slightly green and like gave him fangs or something. It's like, okay.
They spiked his hair up a little bit. He looked kind of like, from what I've seen, he looked kind of like Ray Park's Toad from the X-Men movie?
Yeah, that's totally it.
There you go. That's what you want to be compared to. His fucking Toad. Hey man, whatever happened to Toad? I remember that one from an old episode.
Could we doing an episode about Toad?
We could do an episode about Toad. We'll do a deep dive on Toad.
Yeah, that's what the people want.
That's what they want.
Got to give the people what they want.
So I feel like we've said everything that we need to say about the Amazing Spider-Man 2. So this movie killed that franchise. There was no Amazing Spider-Man 3. And I feel like Andrew Garfield walked away with this with a black eye, and I think he carried that with him for a little bit of time. So we're going to head into 2018, which gave us 2 movies to talk about. Let's talk about the one that's considered critically acclaimed. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Animated, I guess, thing, because it's computer, but starring, we have Miles Morales as our main character and a bunch of other Spider-Men thrown in there for fun. And I saw about 30 minutes of this movie on an airplane from, I think, New York to Boston. And that's my experience with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Why are
you're missing out, man? Yeah. Were you not tempted to go back?
On the plane?
Yeah.
I got home some way. No, I just, I'm not a big Spider-Man person, so they didn't really do anything for me.
Did you not think that the animation in that film kicked ass?
Oh, it looked great. I mean, I'm not going to deny it. So
good.
Revolutionized animation, basically. Like pretty much most animated movies that come out now are trying to replicate what they did with this movie, and it makes it. No, I mean it's a tough act to follow, but it's so dynamic looking and so interesting.
It's interesting. It's beautiful to watch. It's like I find myself captivated by just watching the film. There are parts I'm like, I have actually forgotten what's going on, but I'm just in love with the visuals of it. Beautiful film, man. And actually it is really good. Like as a film, it is really good, but it's also like really beautiful, man.
Yeah, I got nothing against it. Just again, Spider-Man is not my thing.
You watch the animated TV show and you won't watch this animated film.
Yeah.
There's a big leap in the animation quality.
Like I said, I saw about 30 minutes of it in an airplane.
And that 30 minutes didn't captivate you?
Well, here's the thing. I wasn't even the one watching it. It was the people in front of me. And beside them was somebody watching The Notebook. And I will not lie and say that I didn't divide my attention between the two.
God.
All right, so we're going to hop over into the other movie that came out in 2018. Very different in tone and manner and everything else. We're talking Tom Hardy in Venom. Dylan starts giggling.
I saw this film in cinemas. I assume John saw this film as well.
Oh, yes.
I assume Corey did not see this film.
No, I love Tom Hardy, but I did not see this.
I mean, that is my opinion after having seen the film. I love Tom Hardy. I wish I hadn't seen this. No, to be fair to Venom, I didn't hate it.
No.
I didn't totally hate it, but like there was a lot of stuff where I'm like, I don't really dig this. You know, we've talked about the films doing a very good job of like differentiating themselves from the comics, but to me, you can't really tell a proper Venom story without Peter Parker. That's the point of the show.
So let's dive into there for just a moment. We did not have Spider-Man in this because at this point in 2018, Sony had already cut the deal with Disney and Marvel that they would let Disney and Marvel take Spider-Man from them. And in exchange for that, they could continue making movies with Spider-Man-esque characters.
Spider-Man adjacent.
Adjacent.
Yeah.
So they could still do Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse because technically the main character is Miles Morales, even though there's some other Peter Parkers in it. Because I mean, really, the main characters in those movies are Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are the two that seem to have the most focus on them. So this is the first of the Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man, and that's where we're gonna start getting off the beaten path in a real fun way.
Yes.
So as somebody who did watch these movies, how do you do Venom without Spider-Man to introduce the symbiote suit? Because in the comics, Spider-Man got the symbiote suit from Secret Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So after Secret War, he came back to the 616, Earth with the black suit. And in the movie and in the animated series, he got the symbiote from space via saving an astronaut, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So how did the symbiote get introduced in this movie without Spider-Man at all being there?
Well,
So
I think. John could probably explain about it, and I can.
Yeah, it basically follows a similar sort of plot line where it came from space, but rather than it just randomly crashing onto Earth or whatever, it's part of like some sort of experiment that they were doing. They were like heading off to try and look for, worlds that mankind could potentially, spread out to. And then it comes back with these symbiotic, goo things which they wanted to exploit somehow, and they were experimenting on them. And then one escapes and basically finds Eddie Brock for some reason, and then that's it. That's basically how he becomes Venom.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. So the I have seen clips of this, and the symbiote does have a character because there are scenes of Tom Hardy talking to the symbiote.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. I'm cool with that.
Okay.
Like I said, I like Tom Hardy, so that's fine also. Now, our villain is played by Riz Ahmed, who I am familiar with. I can't remember the name of it. There's a movie where he plays a drummer who's losing his hearing. And then, of course, Rogue One, which everybody's forgettable in Rogue One. So he is doing the kind of early MCU villain of just an evil version of the main character. Because like in the early MCU movies, you had like Hulk and Abomination, and you had Thor and Loki to a degree, and you had Captain America and a super soldier empowered Red Skull and Iron Man, and then the various Iron Man adjacent guys in other armor kind of deal. So I did see that he has a symbiote named Riot.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of fucking symbiotes in the Marvel world.
Yes.
Is Riot actually one of them?
Yes.
Okay, so they did pick a real one. Okay.
Kind of. I mean, as I recall, I think it was in the early 90s whenever Venom was really taken off and was like a standalone. He could be in his own comic.
Was that the Venom Lethal Protector
Was
series?
it Lethal Protector or was it Separation and Anxiety? There was something where like Venom was on the loose, and then the government made like 5 different like Venom offshoots.
Yeah, because I remember there was like Toxin. I remember Toxin being
Toxin
one.
was way after that. Toxin was after that. Yeah.
Like Shriek and stuff like that.
Yes, this is like.
Wait, I thought Shriek was one of the Maximum Carnage characters that like were allied with Carnage.
Shriek was aligned with Carnage, but this had like whatever
I
Venom
fucking love
thing-
the 90s.
I know it
So
was a good
good.
time. This whatever the run this was, the government had like 5 different Venom symbiotes or Venom, not Venom symbiotes, just symbiotes. That Riot was one of them, and like they had a bunch of like you could probably like 90s figure it out, you know, Lasher and Gimli and whatever, you know, you could probably figure out the names pretty quickly, right?
Sure.
Mr. Bad, you know, stuff like this.
That bloodbath.
Yeah, so I think Riot was one of them, and then they did bring all 5 of them back at some point. Only I think Carnage ate them. I think John, is that
Thank
correct?
you.
I feel like Carnage consumed them somehow.
I can't
Is that
remember,
right?
but maybe as part of like the what was the big Carnage event from a couple of years back?
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Absolute Carnage or whatever it was.
Was it
but-
Absolute Carnage? I feel like there was one where like what was the one? Sorry, we're going off another tangent. What was the one where whenever Carnage came back to Earth as Cletus Cassidy, he lost his legs because the Sentry ripped him in half.
Yeah.
So they gave him like robotic legs from a company, and then that company was trying to put parts of the Carnage symbiote into the other prosthetics that they did. And I feel like because of that, the government stepped in with the other 5 symbiotes, and then Carnage ate them, I think.
Yeah, it does sound
Does that make
familiar.
sense? Yeah. So that was a good way to introduce these characters and then kill them off immediately. And that probably would that have been before Venom, the film, or around the
Oh
same
yeah,
time?
yeah, definitely.
Way
I think
before?
so. Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
this was like early 2010s, maybe, if not
Maybe.
I think
earlier.
that checks out because Carnage has been around for a while, and this movie is in 2018. So
Yeah.
like Brian Michael Bendis killed off quote unquote Carnage in what 2008, 2007.
Yeah, I would have said 7 if I was guessing.
Yeah. God, we're fucking nerds. I love it.
That's the point of the show.
Yeah, we were talking about the fucking Century, who I don't even think is being used right now.
No, they fucking give up in the Sentry, didn't they?
I think they're
he's
gonna
supposed to
bring
be
him
in the
back.
new Thunderbolts movie.
Yeah, well, they have to recast him because he was going to be Stephen Yeun,
Yeah.
and they are going to recast now. But yeah, so fuck. So anyway, Venom didn't wow people, but it did warrant enough to be a sequel, which we got in 2021. Venom: Let There Be Carnage, which gave us he had a cameo towards the end of the movie, from what I understand, Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy / Carnage, and we also had Naomi Harris as Shriek, who that's. Did we say Shriek earlier?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we have Shriek there, who again was allied with Carnage in the Maximum Carnage thing. That was a big deal. I remember there was a video game for Maximum Carnage.
I loved Maximum Carnage.
It's a good story.
Yeah, but that's because
it's like Daredevil, Cloak, Dagger, Spider-Man.
I'm a huge Carnage fan, and
How'd this one
so
tickle you?
well, I saw the trailer for this film, and I was like, I'm out. There's not a fucking chance I'm watching that film because I will just get really angry. I couldn't watch that film because I thought the first Venom film was okay. Tom Hardy was really good, but the film itself was a bit meh. And I felt that if I watch this film, whatever they're gonna do to Carnage is just not what's in my head, and I'm not gonna have a good time. And I'm not paying £7 for that shit. It's probably
£7 for a cinema trip. That's dirt cheap. Where are you going to watch movies?
In Northern Ireland. You should come over here. It doesn't have a whole lot going for it, but apparently the cinemas are very cheap. Anyway,
This
the
is your
point is
economic report.
the point is I didn't. It's weird. Northern Ireland and England, not that far away, but yeah, totally different. But no, I didn't even attempt to watch this film, and I want to hear what I assume John went to see this film.
Yeah, I mean,
I love to hear the reluctance in John's voice. Yeah.
So I was correct not spending £7 on this film.
I mean, it wasn't bad. I will say that much for it. It was like the first one, not good, but not bad. And there's like sort of a weird energy to the movies where it kind of helps them, like be watchable, but there's not a lot to write home about. Like weirdly, this was really short, it felt like, as well, like only about 90 minutes long, and they don't really do a whole lot to set up Carnage as like a proper villain as well. Like he's just all of a sudden he gets the symbiote, and then
Where does he get the symbiote? Because I know that Venom, like through like asexual reproduction, created Carnage. So is that how that worked then?
No. Yeah. It basically
Fair enough.
It comes from, because like Eddie Brock's a journalist in this, like he is in the comics. He has to go and visit Cletus Cassidy in prison because for whatever reason Cletus Cassidy has decided that Eddie Brock is the only person he's going to tell like where he's buried all his victims. But it seems like, I don't know if he knows that Eddie's got the symbiote or he just decides to randomly bite him on his own accord. But when he bites him through the bars of the cell, like he bites his hand, like he gets he like ingests a piece of the symbiote, and then
what?
Yeah, and then that's how he becomes like AIDS. Carnage. Yeah.
Oh no! Oh no!
All right. Do you guys want to know how how it goes for Carnage in the end as well? Like, are you ever going to watch this, or should I avoid giving you spoilers?
I'm never going to watch.
Does he get ripped in half by the Century?
No, unfortunately, it'd be really fucking
funny if he did.
Oh, can we guess? Does okay? Venom drowns him.
No.
Carnage gets hit by a car.
I think he might do at some point. But no, basically, he gets eaten by Venom.
Oh,
he gets consumed. He gets vored.
Oh.
Yes. Oh boy. Oh boy.
I don't like that.
There's a quarter of the internet that loved that.
Does he eat the symbiote, or does he eat Cassidy as well?
Woody Harrelson?
He eats all of it.
Oh boy.
Oh
boy.
The whole shebang.
That's fucking weird. See, this is what I mean, man. Because I love Carnage so much, I knew that if I watch this film, it's not going to do justice to the man I love. And from what you've told me so far, like no real build up, no real justification for Carnage, no real anything, and then he gets eaten by Venom in an hour and a half. Like, what the fuck?
All right.
Thank you.
So here's the thing: I was on board with Woody Harrelson being cast because I think like natural born killers, like Woody Harrelson, seems like he's perfect for it. Do you know another reason why Woody Harrelson's perfect for this?
Why?
His father, Charles Void Harrelson,
killed 7 people.
Yes. He was a contract killer. Yes, he worked for the mob. He worked for the mob and was sentenced to life in prison. He killed people. Alan Harry Berg, Sam Delgia, and Judge John H. Wood Jr., all murders confirmed by Charles Harrelson.
Wow.
Look him up. Yes, Woody Harrelson's father was a contract killer.
Wow.
Didn't expect that.
Nope.
Did not see that one coming.
There was rumors that he was involved in the JFK assassination at one point too.
Somebody had to do it.
He tried to escape from prison in 1995. At that point, he was like in his 50s.
Did he try to escape whenever his cellmate left behind like some weird goo that attached to him?
A young Tom Hardy was there and he got bitten. Turns out it wasn't venom, it was just hepatitis.
Yeah, left him with something.
Okay, all right. Well, so we're gonna I would tell you that we're gonna aim for like greener pastures, but we're gonna head right into 2022, which gave us Morbius, the Living Vampire, starring Academy Award winner Jared Leto.
This is a big question for the podcast. Before we started today's show, John asked us both me and Corey, to watch Morbius. in preparation for the show. So now we're gonna find out. John, you've seen Morbius.
Yeah, I actually watched it today just to refresh my memory.
Good stuff. So you've seen it twice?
I've seen it twice.
All right.
2 times too many.
Corey, did you watch Morbius in preparation for today's podcast?
I haven't seen the good movies. What do you think I watched this for?
You don't know if this isn't one of the good ones. John saw it twice.
See, here's the thing. I have an irrational hatred of Jared Leto. He's one of 2 people who I just have irrational hatreds for. It's him and fucking Lenny Kravitz. I can't explain why, but okay. I love Fight Club just for seeing him get the shit kicked out of him. I love American Psycho because he takes an axe to the face. I mean, goddamn. I am not a Jared Leto fan.
I'm going to say Lenny Kravitz is definitely an irrational hatred. I don't think hating Jared Leto is irrational.
No.
He may or may not be leading a cult.
He is. Like, I think we confirmed that, didn't we? Like,
we've
that's
confirmed
100%.
it.
Like, yeah, you and me did.
It's getting real weird. It's like didn't the COVID pandemic happen while he was like in a desert retreat with these fucking psychos?
Yeah.
Yeah, holy shit.
It's a bad idea.
But yeah, so we have Jared Leto's Morbius, which also features a lot of people's favorite iteration of Doctor Who, Matt Smith, as another vampire guy.
Yes. Well, you didn't ask me if I watched Morbius.
Dylan, did you watch Morbius?
I did.
There you go.
Can you believe this? I don't watch films that often, but I thought, fuck it, I'm going to watch Morbius today. And let me tell you, I have a few things to say about it.
All right. So this is what I know about Morbius. In the Spider-Man animated show, one of those weird handcuffs is they did not want Morbius biting people. So he had little suction cup things in his hand, and he wasn't allowed to say that he drank blood. He absorbed plasma. Yeah. I remember that being a thing. I know the character's kind of morally gray in the comics sometimes.
Yes.
And that's about all I know about Morbius the Living Vampire.
All of that
would need to know.
Way better than the film. John, what did you think of the film? I haven't seen it twice.
Oh God. It's just so badly put together. You can tell it's a movie made by committee where lots of people have obviously had lots of different ideas and they've not really meshed together very well. And it's just resulted in something that's kind of like half formed and ugly to look at and doesn't make much sense. And I mean, as like a movie that's basically supposed to be starting maybe not starting, but like expanding on, what Venom's doing and like creating this whole new bigger universe of Spider-Man adjacent characters. It does nothing whatsoever to make you want to see more. So I mean, it's just a failure on pretty much every single level.
I will say this about that film. When I started watching it, I think like maybe the first half of it, I'm like, it's not bad, right? Like it's not, I mean, it's not a good film, but it's also like, this isn't like as shit as people said it was. It absolutely fell off in the last half.
Yeah.
Like just none of it made any sense. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like there's so many bits you could have done that would have been done that anybody could have done way better. For example, Matt Smith, right? There's a bit, the whole point of it is Michael Morbius has some kind of mysterious disease that whoever Matt Smith's character is, Milo or whatever, but it's not really his name.
Yeah, that's confusing as well.
So they're both sick with something that makes them limp. And Morbius injects himself with the vampire DNA. And then...
How did he get vampire DNA?
Vampire bats.
Yeah.
Okay. You said vampire DNA, and I'm like, wait. Are they established as already being a thing?
So Matt Smith is bankrolling Morbius through this whole thing.
Even though he was like an orphan child with Michael Morbius at the very beginning.
Yes. How did he get the money? No explanation.
Don't worry about it.
They never explain it. But he's bankrolling Morbius this whole way through. So at some point, he goes to visit Morbius. He sees him as a vampire, and he says, "Hey, you're cured. You're walking around, even though you're a bit of a vampire, but you're walking around. Give me the cure." And Morbius says, "I can't because you don't know what it does to you. It doesn't really cure you. It makes you into this monster, right?" And I'm like, right, that's a really good dynamic right there. Because this guy has bankrolled Michael Morbius his entire life. He's done everything for him to find a cure. And now that Morbius has found the cure, he's going to get really...
Not sharing it.
Yes, he's going to get real... He's going to become the obvious heel in this and be like, how dare you? I've done everything for you and you can't give me the thing, right? And like, that's what they're going to do. But they didn't really do that. Matt Smith's character just kind of walks away and then becomes a vampire anyway off screen. And then it's just like a really British gentleman for most of the film. And you're like, what? Like, why isn't he... Are you
suggesting...
But like, why isn't he healing it up? Like, why isn't he like becoming a real like vindicated, bitter, like, this should have been me. I should have been this, like, that's the angle, right?
Yeah.
None of that.
They just brushed past it. Yeah.
Yep. So then after that, you're like, okay, the rest of this film doesn't make any sense. It all falls apart like super quick. There's a part where Morbius is having coffee with like one of his old assistants. And then he also has magic selective hearing where he can hear other people talking, but like only specific people talking.
Yeah.
And this happens all the way through that's a part of the end of it, whereas he can hear the woman talking to Matt Smith. Like, how can you specifically hear those two people talking miles away and not all of the other people in the city, right? Forget that bit for right now. He's in the cafe. He hears these two people talking about how they've counterfeited some money. So they're like, oh, we're going to go back to our place and counterfeit some more money. And Morbius follows them.
Why does he... Wait. Why does he care if they're counterfeiting money?
Because he wants to steal their laboratory.
Okay.
Right?
Don't... I guess.
So he goes... He just follows these two fucking people, assuming that that not only do they have a drug laboratory, but their drug laboratory is suitable enough for him to do his own fucking experiments in. And then lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. So he just takes over the drug laboratory himself.
And finds a cure.
Yes.
Without the vampire bats or any of his research or anything, he just rustles up a cure.
Do you know how they explain that? Is because in the cafe when he's talking to the woman, he says, I need you to go and grab me some things out of our old lab.
Oh, God.
And that's it. So the dialogue, can I also, by the way, say two things about the dialogue? There were three quotes I wrote down that really fucking made me cringe. One of them is whenever he's in the laboratory talking to the thugs, and one of them goes, "Oh man, who are you?" Like that. Do you know what he says?
What does he call himself?
John, do you remember what he says?
I can't remember.
He says, "I am Venom."
Oh my God.
Is Venom like a known thing?
I don't know.
No, it's not made clear at all.
Here's two other quotes I wrote down, right? I think these are really important. One of these quotes was when he's in the police station, they arrested him and he's talking to the cops and he needs the blood in him to stop being a vampire. So he says to the cops, I'm starting to get hungry and you wouldn't want to see me when I'm hungry.
Ugh.
So this is what we're dealing with. And at some point later on, he says, I can't remember if he says this to the woman or not, but he says, I quote, I guess we're both a little crazy. And I'm like, this is bad. This is real bad.
That's some dialogue there.
This is so that's after having seen Morbius, like it absolutely gets worse at the last half. Like the none of it makes any sense. They fight at the end, which is shit. Like the fight scene at the end sucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not interesting. And then, because all Marvel films have a post-credit scene, right?
Yes.
Who's in the post-credit scene? Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton's been tied to too many bad things lately, I've noticed. Like he had the Flash movie and this.
Yes.
He needs to start being more selective again.
This was a shame to see Michael Keaton in this.
So this movie became like really made fun of online. I remember It's Morbin Time being a thing.
Yes.
And so Sony, very famously, Sony saw all of the jokes and the buzz and whatnot, and they thought, we'll re-release it and people will absolutely go see it now. And they didn't, which is amazing to me that they put the same movie out twice and it flopped twice. It's not like unbelievable that it would flop twice. It's just that they thought it would do great because shit posting. So, you know, will Morbius be back?
Oh, absolutely.
You reckon?
No.
Absolutely not. I think Jared Leto's like, I guarantee you this thing was absolutely a passion project for Jared Leto because he got to be a fucking weirdo on film and he loves being a weirdo on film. He
absolutely was a fucking weirdo.
I understand that he didn't do as much method acting as he normally does, but I did hear that he refused to walk around like when he was playing the my blood disease is so bad that he would like move in character like off camera like that.
When you say he didn't do as much method acting in this one, do you mean he didn't become a literal vampire?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the guy that was sending dead animals to the cast of Suicide Squad, you know, like he's kind of a notorious dickhead for shit like that.
Yes, as we've established, he's a fucking idiot, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't like Jared Leto before this. I'm like, to be fair, as Morbius, I thought he was okay. Like again, the first half of the film more so than the last half, he was fine. He was okay.
I saw on the Wikipedia page that there was a comment of like, this movie it wasn't as character driven as he's used to, and he struggled with that. What was he expecting?
It's the character of a vampire
about a D-list character from Marvel. Like Morbius, the last time Morbius got this much attention, it was the 90s.
Yes, it would have been.
Because 90s Marvel had a beautiful little corner of like Ghost Rider, The Punisher, Venom, and like Morbius the Living Vampire to a much lesser extent.
Yeah. They love that stuff.
They did, but this is also like, it's not 1995, unfortunately. You know?
Yeah.
That stuff doesn't work as well.
No.
So we're going to go from famine to feast as we talk about the last movie. This one just came out in 2023, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is a sequel to Into the Spider-Verse. This one, we have our same cast and crew of characters, except now we get the great Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara, a.k.a. Spider-Man 2099. Another great product of the 90s. So, again, didn't see this one. Guys, how was it?
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's even more beautiful than the first film.
So it's a palate cleanser.
Holy shit, dude. Dude, if you like animation at all, like watch that fucking film. My goodness. Blew me away.
Yeah, man. And I'd say the only like not bad point of it, but like the thing that slightly brings it down for me from the first movie is it's so clearly setting up for like the second part that it kind of ends and not in a satisfying way.
Yes. Agreed. But, it does kind of end.
That's just, the way filmmaking goes now. It's all about the sequels and setting up further stories down the line and whatnot.
But also, Corey, hopefully this will entice you to watch that film. It makes the Spot into a really viable character.
Yeah.
Is he a big character in this?
Yeah.
Yeah-ish.
Because he's voiced by
he's an important character.
Jason Schwartzman.
He's an important character. Like he's funny at first and then it gets more serious. It's good stuff. I would watch that film if I were you. Don't watch Morbius.
So, is there anything else you want to say about Across the Spider-Verse? Because if not, we can talk about the near future of the Sony Spider movies.
All I want to say is, Corey, you have to watch at least one of the Spider-Verse films.
I don't got to do shit.
Hey, no. No need for that kind of antagonistical language.
Okay, well, so if we hop over into 2024, as of right now, I'm sure these are going to get pushed and delayed or whatever, because this would be insane if they put all 3 of these out in the same year. Up first, Madam Web, which is coming out next week as we are recording on February the 9th. I will not lie to you. My only knowledge of Madam Web is, again, from the animated series, and she's a blind old woman. But in this movie, she's played by a young Dakota Fanning.
Johnson.
Dakota. I fucking wish it was Dakota Fanning. Dakota Johnson. And this movie features a bunch of side female characters that have or at some point gone by Spider-Woman or Spider-Woman adjacent. And there's a villain who I've never heard of.
You've never heard of Ezekiel?
That was
character.
A big storyline. When was that? Like 2000, early 2000s?
Yeah, something like
Again,
that.
Todd McFarlane. That's all I got.
This was a very interesting storyline when it happened.
Is this Is this a storyline? Like, is
The Ezekiel thing was,
okay.
The Ezekiel thing was, but again, it's a storyline that, like, if you do it without Spider-Man, without having seen the film, probably won't make any sense.
So Madam Web is a clairvoyant, but she's also blind and paralyzed. I assume that's not going to be the case here.
Doesn't look like it.
No. Well, I think this is weird because I think Dakota Johnson is technically playing like the original version of Madam Web, but in the comics, she did get killed at one point, I think by Craven or like one of his family members or something. But just as she was dying, she passed on her powers to Julia Carpenter.
Yes.
And then, and that sort of made Julia Carpenter blind but clairvoyant as well, and able to sort of see the future. Yeah. So I guess her character is just a mix of the two, but with the original Madam Web's name. But
and the Julia Carpenter character is one of the Spider-Women.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to say about Madam Web? I saw they are projected to make $625 million in its first week of opening, which is next week, because it opens on Valentine's Day.
Well,
what a romantic date.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where there's a review embargo until before the movie opens, and that is never a good sign.
No, it is not.
No.
That is never good.
I guess we can move on from that.
Yeah, we're going to go from not good to not good, because I saw the trailer for this, and boy, oh boy, Kraven the Hunter.
I don't think I saw the trailer for that. I don't think
you should check that out. So, Kraven the Hunter, another Spider-Man villain. This is being played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was Quicksilver in the MCU, and he was also Kick-Ass. He seems like he should be a bigger deal than he is, because I've enjoyed everything I've seen him in, except for I have a feeling I'm not going to enjoy this. But this movie also stars Russell Crowe, who is everybody's favorite Javert. There's a version of the Rhino in this, by the looks of it, and there is a version of the Chameleon in this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a voodoo priestess that's in love with him, apparently. I'm just looking at the IMDb page. Kraven the Hunter was just a big game hunter. That's what I remember from like the comics and the cartoon. He had a really big storyline, Kraven's Last Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
That's like probably what he's best known for. But this looks like he has like Animal Man's powers from DC. Like he takes on animalistic qualities in people by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's hard to get a good sort of feel for what they're going for from
it's a trailer,
yeah. But that looks like what they're aiming at. Like, not really traditionally Kraven's powers. Well, he doesn't really have powers, does he?
No, he's just a dude.
He's really strong. He's a gun.
Yeah, I think he has like a bit of super strength. Maybe he's like inhaled some
voodoo dust.
Oh boy, let's not say. Be careful what you say.
It's just voodoo dust, all right? We've all had some. The thing is, a while ago in the comics, they did a bit where Kraven, I can't remember if that was the original Kraven or if it was his family, but they did a bit where Kraven kidnapped a bunch of animal-themed supervillains.
Mm-hmm.
and put them in a zoo or his own private zoo. And then, you know, Spider-Man comes along and stops him. So I haven't seen the trailer, but I'm like, is that something like that would make sense by the Rhino and the Chameleon would be there?
The Chameleon is actually his like adopted brother or something.
His strange half brother,
Yes.
master of disguise.
Right, which like you could, that's a story you could tell.
Yeah.
If you've already introduced these characters, that would be a great story to have a spin-off film about.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page and it says the Rhino is a Russian mercenary who can turn into a human rhino hybrid.
Oh no.
Is it?
What?
Is this going to be like Seamus and that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie?
Yeah.
That was awesome. Don't go slagging that, man.
I'm not going to slag it. I'm just saying, like, Rhino again was just a dude in a suit. Like, that's a lot of Marvel. Like, a lot of Spider-Man's villains are just dudes in suits. Scorpion, dude in a suit. Vulture, dude in a suit. I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know why
All
we're having
animal themed.
weirdos.
All animal themed, but not Kraven the Hunter. It wasn't a dude in a suit. He was just a dude. Didn't
Just a
even need a
dude.
suit.
Didn't need it. Just a dude.
See? Exactly.
Hydra Man, just a dude in a water suit.
Listen, Hydra Man, the best out of all of them.
Oh boy.
Where's
So
Hydra Man's film? They're making all this other fucking garbage ass films. They made
Hey,
3
we don't
Venom
know.
films. You can't give me one Hydra Man film. It would fucking
Oh,
kick ass.
It's coming, don't worry.
yeah.
Is it?
Well, speaking of things that are coming up next, also scheduled for release in 2024, Venom 3.
Right.
I know nothing about this. I don't even
don't
know
think
if there's
anyone
a
does.
Wikipedia. Yeah, I don't even think there's a Wikipedia article. I just saw it on the list of releases.
If the villain is Hydra Man, I might watch it.
It just says, okay, upcoming American superhero film featuring Venom. Cast
Venom.
just lists Venom. Additionally, Juno Temple has been cast in an undisclosed role, and Juno Temple is described as a lead character. That's all we got. That's it for the most part. They began principal photography, and then it got delayed because of the SAG-AFTRA strike. John, it's filming's also going to be expected to take place in London. If you want to take a trip and explore and report back to us what you find out.
Film's got to be over by now, right?
If it's scheduled,
Sure.
currently scheduled, it was previously expected on October 2024 and scheduled on July 12th of 2024. So a couple of months from this. It's scheduled to be released on November 8th of 2024.
So the film is done.
Maybe.
It's got to be finished by now.
Surely. All the post-production stuff they need to do. And
Think of all the CG effects they have to do for Venom and Hydra Man.
Yep.
It's a lot of water.
Yep.
Very
A lot of
expensive.
water. Venom's weakness, water. So that's the docket. There's a rumor. There's like another Spider-Verse movie, but I didn't really see anything too concrete talking about it.
Well, they're
are
really
they doing another? There was like a Spider-Man movie with Bad Bunny in, wasn't there?
That got
Like-
canceled, I think. I think he pulled out from that. Yeah,
fair
I
enough.
think he was playing a character that was only in 1 or 2 issues. So that's that's,
yeah.
that's the level of thought we're putting into this.
But
Oh,
also,
fuck.
like, back in the
Jesus.
day, let's be honest, wasn't a whole lot of representation for some people. So whenever they were like, let's go find some kind of like Latin American Spider-Man character, they were like, oh fuck,
We don't got any.
what the fuck? I mean,
But-
like they because it's a film, they usually could have just made somebody from Latin America and just gone with it,
Well, and it's weird because aside from villains, there are not a lot of Spider-Man characters that you
No.
can do something with. It's not like Spider-Man's the Batman family where there's like
Right.
a dozen sidekicks or like side characters. Like, let's say that if this was like the DC world and they were like, you can make stuff, and they actually did this. This was like a thing that happened, and it's why Titans was a show. You can make Batman related movies, but you can't use Batman. You have like just even if you don't want to do the sidekicks, you have characters like Azrael, you have characters like Batwoman, which they did do a fucking show of. But like Spider-Man doesn't have that. He just doesn't. He's a solo character. So it
Right.
just seems so weird they cut this deal and it's like, man, I hope Disney gave you a good bit of money because this doesn't seem like it's worth your while
it seems like the fucking it's like the best trade-off for one side of the trade, right? Whenever they made this deal, like, we get Spider-Man, but you can have all the Spider-Man adjacent characters. The problem with that is, as I think we've kind of laid out by now, is that a lot of those characters don't work without Spider-Man. Like, Venom doesn't work. Like, nothing about Venom works without Spider-Man in some capacity. And it's the same with Ezekiel. Like, that character doesn't exist without Spider-Man. You know, you can try to, like, create universes where this stuff happens, but, like, those two characters specifically, they need Spider-Man there to just have that origin story, to have the motivation, to have the entire purpose of their existence. It doesn't make any sense. So, like, you can't really spin it off that well.
I mean, so you can see the very clear cutoff after the. So we'll get into numbers here in a second. But real quick, we'll make a fun little game of it. John, if you had to make a standalone Spider-Man movie that did not feature Spider-Man, what character are you focusing on?
I don't know. I'd say maybe the Kingpin.
But can they use Kingpin? Because he's getting used by Marvel.
Well, yeah, this is a good point.
Because I think they're more leaning into the fact, like, well, he's a Daredevil character.
But Kingpin was in Spider-Verse.
That's true.
Yeah.
He was voiced by the great Liev Schreiber.
He was really good.
I enjoy some Liev Schreiber. So yeah, if you go with Kingpin, Dylan, who do you got?
The Big Wheel.
I was gonna say Big Wheel.
Because it's universal. Everybody gets it. It's just a guy in a big wheel. Everybody can understand that character. You know?
Yeah, I guess I will do what was the name? There was it Nick Spencer had a short run, like the Sinister Foes of Spider-Man or whatever, but it was like a joke book.
That wasn't that went on for a while, didn't it?
It went on for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was so essentially, for those who weren't aware of that, it was kind of like a Suicide Squad-esque book, in that it was a team book of, like, villains, but, like, they were all kind of, like, pathetic villains.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
like,
it was a really funny series.
It was funny.
Yeah, you had, like, Shocker, the Beetle, Speed Demon. Fuck, who else was in that?
Overdrive,
Boomerang.
Yeah.
Boomerang.
Boomerang. Not to be confused with the superior Captain Boomerang, just Boomerang.
Yeah. Just regular Boomerang.
Just regular Boomerang.
Not promoted Boomerang.
Yep. Private Boomerang.
Yeah. Private Boomerang.
So I mean, they could have fun with something like that. I mean, you could, like, hint at Spider-Man, because that was another thing they did. Was I saw, like, just kind of reading through Wikipedia articles, like, they got J.K. Simmons. They filmed a bunch of shit for him and Morbius that they didn't use.
Really?
Yeah, apparently he filmed some scenes they cut from the movie.
That would have made a big
probably
difference.
Disney, because I guarantee Disney saw that and they said, get our shit out of there. I heard, like, Tom Holland had, like, they just used footage from, like, the Spider-Man movies that Holland was in. Like, he didn't film anything for it.
Yeah. On the second
We also
one.
We should point out, though, that in the last Spider-Man movie the MCU did, where it was, like, all the villains from the Sonyverse and stuff, there was a Tom Hardy, like, end credit scene.
Yes, there was.
Where he left a little drop of venom behind.
Yeah.
So Tom Holland didn't even have to bite him to get it.
Exactly.
There you go.
No biting necessary.
No biting necessary. So those are the movies that were part of the Sonyverse so far. It's still ongoing, and how much money can you lose? We will find out. So I did the same thing that we did last time. I got the box office results. I got the Rotten Tomatoes scores, and we'll do the average. So the direct comparison is obviously going to be the MCU, which before Endgame was $961 million. And post Endgame was 693. So the post Endgame featured the last Spider-Man movie, which did the heavy fucking lifting for them on that average. So the Sony Spider movies, everything from Tobey Maguire on, $658 million. So a little less than both of those MCU numbers, but they got dragged down a bit.
Yes.
So the biggest earning Spider-Man movie, what do you guys think it was? Because I think you'll be surprised.
Well, it should be Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
With Dr. Octopus, but because we'll be surprised, it means it's probably going to be Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, that would be my guess as well.
It was Spider-Man 3, $895 million.
Now, do you think it was one of those things where people were like, you have to see how shit this film is?
I think a lot of people were excited to see Venom.
Yeah.
And then disappointed.
Venom was a really popular character. We're not that far removed from the 90s. I think people were excited to see Venom.
And you got to think as well, like the first two movies did so well that helped build anticipation for the third one as well. So
yeah,
I imagine like they did a lot of the heavy lifting and building,
but
getting people excited for it.
Surely that's what we were talking about though. Like if you know Venom, you know that like if you're gonna do that, you either make Venom the whole film or you don't make him the side guy to the Sandman, right? Like you must know that a film with Venom and Sandman and the Green Goblin in it is going to be a tough sell to make Venom good.
Yeah,
because they don't have time for the whole spiel, you know. That's the vibe I got before I went in there, and then it turned out that was true. You know?
So, I will tell you, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies were some of the movies that drew the most money. What do you think the second highest drawing movie was? Because again, you're gonna be surprised.
Wait, so are we saying that the third Spider-Man Sam Raimi film was the highest?
Yes. What came after? What was the second highest?
The first
I'm
one?
Say Venom.
John's right. Venom, 856 million.
Oh,
people really like Venom.
So people were disappointed about Venom twice?
Yes. They did not learn their lesson. I will tell you that the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie was third at 825.
Okay.
Do you want to know how much money Spider-Man 2 did?
Yes.
789.
Is that fourth?
That is, yes, it looks like it's fourth. So the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies did a lot, but again, there was not a lot of superhero movies coming out between 2002 and 2007.
Right. I think part of it was that it was kind of a new genre, and I think part of it was that they were Spider-Man films. Right?
Yes.
Like by that point, we've already seen Batman films a lot, and have we seen one Incredible Hulk at some point by then?
Yeah, the Ang Lee Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Which was that was fun.
Yep. Maybe we'll watch that one next. But by that
then
point,
you had the X-Men as well.
Yes, there was the X-Men. So like
we'll end up having an X-Men episode.
Again, yes, we have X-Men staff to give you an episode. But if you think about the 90s, people were excited about the Spider-Man cartoon and the X-Men cartoon. So I think when those films came out, despite the varying quality of those films, and because there wasn't a whole lot of other superhero films out at that time, both of those films got a big, like, kind of like an artificial boost to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's just a natural interest in them.
So after Spider-Man 2, we have earning $758 million, The Amazing Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
After that, earning $709 million, we have The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
After that, earning $690 million, we have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Right.
After that, at $509 million, we have Venom Let There Be Carnage.
This is a travesty.
After that, we at $384 million, we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
380?
384.
So they did
better on DVD and streaming, I'm guessing.
They're still like 20 away from fucking Carnage?
Yep.
Whoa.
And then last place, pulling up the rear to the surprise of no one, Morbius at $167 million. Didn't break 200 million.
Oof.
Can we real quick find out? Didn't you say what Venom had like 30% rating?
Yeah, so here's the Rotten Tomatoes score. If we take the average of all of these, we have 66% in total. if we're gonna go, do you want to do highest to lowest again?
Oh, I can't wait to hear what the lowest
Yeah.
So the top rated one at 97%.
It's gotta be Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay, yeah, that's actually
next
fair,
to last in earnings, highest in ratings.
That makes sense. That's fair.
After
it is
that,
really good.
After that, at 95%, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
That's also fair.
Yeah.
After that, at 93%, Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
This is the top 3, Dylan.
I mean, I agree with this so far. And it's not often I agree with the people, but we're on board so far.
Okay.
John might think that Spider-Man 1 is a little low on this list, but...
Well, yeah, what's going on?
Well, we don't know what number 4 is. Could be top 5.
Number 4, at 90%, is Sam Raimi Spider-Man. There it is. It's only 3% behind Spider-Man 2.
It's not bad.
So at this point, we're taking it dips.
Yeah, do you want to just end the list here?
So
if you watch all 4 of those films, you won't be disappointed. If you watch all the Spider-Man films, you will be disappointed.
Yes. So at 71%, we have The Amazing Spider-Man.
Whoa. So can we just like make that a point? We went from 90% to 71%.
What's like, what, a 19% decrease?
That's a big dip.
It's a dip.
Yeah.
The next is also a dip at 63%. We have Spider-Man 3. We got one more dip at 57%. Venom Let There Be Carnage.
57?
57%.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Not as big a dip at 51%. Spider-Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Well, I haven't seen Carnage, but I would have guessed it was worse than... Wow, Jamie Foxx was just not that good then, was he?
So remember when the number 2 movie, like earning-wise, was Venom?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's second to last at 30%.
30.
At 30%, big drop again. Venom.
Like, by the way, right? Just real quick, off the top of your head, could either of you, John, you're a big film guy, can either of you think of right now a film that you think is so bad that you would only give it 30%?
Oh, don't worry, we got one more to go, and we all know what it is.
Now, this film I would probably give 30% to, right?
So far, this is accumulated all of the. We talked about 24 or 23 pre-Endgame movies, 10 post-Endgame movies, 15 DC movies or 16 DC movies, and Hellboy. And Hellboy had the lowest rating at 17%. It only made $55 million.
17.
At 17%. So what we can say about Morbius is they at least made more money because Morbius only got 15%.
Whoa.
They got worse than Hellboy.
Oh my god.
15%. And like, honestly, after having seen it, I don't even know if I give it 15%. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was, like I said, the first half was bad, was okay. The second half was really bad, but the first half was okay. I don't know if I would give it 15%.
I think you're too kind, Dylan.
I think I am. That's what people say about me. I'm just too kind.
Say that Dylan, what a gent.
Oh, what a generous man and so handsome. They all say that. That's unrelated, but they say it, so it's worth mentioning. But like, John, you're a big film guy, so like you're probably you've seen like way more trash films than I have, probably, right?
Yeah, 100%. But like I've never been one to buy into Rotten Tomato scores or anything like that. I've never judged a movie based on what Rotten Tomatoes say. So
right. Well, that's the thing. We should go by our own. We should do our own viewer. Like you have your scale because you've seen so many films. You have your own scale, and then like I have my more like casual scale. Like we should like this could be a much more accurate scale than Rotten Tomatoes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are the numbers as of right now. We don't know how Madam Web's going to turn out. We don't know how Kraven the Hunter or Venom 3 or whatever else movies. There's I saw one thing discussing that they're going to potentially try to do a live action Miles Morales movie. So that was the Sony Spider-Verse. Like I said, we don't really know what the future holds. Could be good, could be bad. That trajectory though isn't great. I mean, if it's not for the Spider-Verse movies, since they separated, 30%, 57%, 15%. That's not healthy looking.
No.
And monetary wise, it's just like people gave Venom a shot, and then afterwards they just didn't care. I mean, even then the Spider-Verse movies aren't getting as much money as the other movies are. But, you know, there's a lot of things you could credit to that. The rise in popularity of streaming, especially if it's an animated feature that are going to be more geared to kids. You know, that always plays a role into it too. Yeah, I mean, if there's any closing remarks that you guys want to make regarding the Sony Spider-Man movies?
Just that they should give the rights back to Marvel and Disney, because I think they could do a better job of it than Sony have been doing over the last 10 years or so.
Do you think Disney would do a better Kraven the Hunter film?
I think Disney would know that no one wants to watch a Kraven the Hunter movie.
I think that's really the takeaway. It's just like, for some reason, they really thought having these ancillary characters drive these films was going to be a great idea. And that is just, the numbers are not there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, what people forget, or what the bigwigs at Sony forgot, was that the reason these characters worked so well is because they had the perfect foil to go against, which was Spider-Man. Like, if you take away that main linchpin of it, none of this shit makes any sense. What's the point of a Kraven the Hunter film with no Spider-Man? What's the point of a Venom film with no Spider-Man? That's the most ass-backwards thing you could think of. It's not going to work.
That's going to do it for us today. I thought this was a fun follow-up on kind of the MCU stuff and kind of looking at another production company's attempts to cash in on that Marvel IP. I think at some point we will do the Fox X-Men world, even though now it looks like the X-Men are going to start populating up into the MCU. We'll take a look at the last ones. I mean, there's quite a lot to cover there. These movie ones tend to go on a little bit longer than what we're used to, but we'll be back with a brand new topic. Might be more movie stuff. We might jump into a character focus. We might jump into a storyline focus. Regardless, we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.